Hey US Virgin Chess, welcome to the online tutorials. If you've selected this video, you've selected from the FIDE online playlist. I guess your host Colin Hammond. Let's look at a real thrilling game here, guys. This was a really nice 27 move game brought to you by myself. I had the black pieces here, and let's get right into it. It really surprised my opponent here with a special game that I wanted to share with you guys. So e4, c5, Sicilian as it does, knight to c3, knight to c6, bishop to b5 and a6, bishop into c6 and dc6. This is okay, guys. Even though there's double pawns here on the c file, that's not a big deal. So let's continue. Let's get through it kind of quickly this time. e5 and f4. So now fighting with the king's pawn, or the f pawn rather, minority pawn on the king's side. So f captures on e, bishop captures on e. Knight into f3 now, attacking the bishop, and now pinning the knight to the queen there on the d1 square, as we see, guys. Okay. Short castles is a continuation by my opponent, and bishop to d4 check. Okay. So now the knight cannot capture. If knight captures, it loses the queen. So the best move in the position, though, played by my opponent, king to h1. Queen to c7 now, guys, just eyeing h2 pawn for the future. And unpinning now, queen goes to e1, my opponent. And rook castle queenside, played by myself, guys. Long castles. Long castles here. Okay, so bishop to e3 now. And horse to f6 now, developing the kingside knight for myself. Bishop captures on d4, c captures on d4 now, attacking the knight. And obviously, guys, you can't recapture here, because then the rook just captures and black is a whole lot better. So that's why my opponent dropped the queenside knight there back to e2. And c5. Okay, c3 now played. And what did I play in this position, guys? D captures c, and now queen captures c. Now, going along the c file, my king is on c8. Is going to be under attack here soon, but now h5 was played, and now getting the kingside attack started with the h5 pawn, and now rook a to c1 played by my opponent, putting more pressure now on c5 square. So that's why b6 was played, and now b4. So getting a little scary here, my opponent now threatening, and this was the best move in the position, guys. Bishop captures on f3, and after rook captures on f3, then just knight to g4. Knight to g4, guys, obviously threatening the h2 pawn, as the queen is on the long diagonal, so checkmate is the threat. My opponent played g3, not allowing the checkmate threat, obviously. So h4 was played, and my opponent played rook to f4. Now, guys, find the best move in the position for black. Pause the video, do what you have to do, find the best move for black in this position, after I give it a couple of seconds. Did you guys spot the knight sacrifice? I went for this. H captures on g3 square. Now just giving up the knight. So my opponent doesn't hesitate and almost instantly played rook captures on g4. And here's the exciting part now, guys. Rook captures on h2, having to suffer this check, as the king only has correct one square to move to, and that's g1. And now swinging the d8 rook over to h8 now, and there's a double threat now on h1. So white has to come up with something shortly. So white played the best move in the position, and that is, yes, guys, knight captures on g3. It's by far the best move in the position. Now defending h1 square, any mate threats. So now queen to d7, guys, attacking the g4 rook. And my opponent played b captures on c5. Now, guys, without looking at the algebraic notation, find the best move for black in the position. Find the best move. Did you guys find b6, b5? Right, and now this doesn't allow for something like captures and captures. Obviously, that's fatal for Team Black, guys. That's almost losing on the spot. So that's why in this position, just pushing the pawn forward. And I imagine in this position, white could have responded with something like maybe a4. But it really wouldn't matter either. That would just drop the rook. So you can't play that. Instead, after b5, my opponent played a better move and captured g7. Okay? And then now, playing the best move in the position, guys, that's queen to h3. Undoubtedly the best move in the position. Okay? So now there is the what they call the machine gun, the triple threat there on the H file. And white conceded the game on the spot with rook into f7. And yes, guys, the mating square is g2, and that's check and mate. Team white has been terminated. Okay? Now, I went through the analysis here, guys, and let's spend a couple minutes now and find out how black just could, or should have just drawn this game, despite being down 5 points. A knight and 2 pawns. Okay, so let's go through this now and find out how this was actually drawing. So the best continuation for white in this position, guys, is now having to defend. Remember the mating square? Now obviously queen cannot go to g2 because it's defended now by the c1, c2 rook. So why doesn't everyone go ahead and try to find the best continuation for black now? Okay, well, you have to give up the rook now. It's the only continuation. Okay, that's actually not the best move. You have to play, the engine doesn't like it at all, but you have to play rook into h1, and after knight captures, queen captures, and then king is forced to move now to 1 square. And now, yeah, the best continuation now is just checking again. As we see, guys, you have to check again here. And the king looks like it's getting away to safety. So now you're supposed to check again here. And it looks like the king is getting away safely here in the end. But that's actually not quite the case, because if we take all this back, guys, and we play a move like b4 attacking the queen after we've given up the exchange, right, with check, king is forced to move now, asking a question of the queen. The best square for the queen to move to is either just captures or backwards. So let's just say the queen decides to capture now. And there are, amazingly in this position, guys, there are still no available checks. It's incredible. There are no available checks. And now, despite being down 2 pawns and a rook, so now white is +7. Guys, find the best continuation for black. Well, let's do it together, guys, with the virtual analysis. Let's find the best continuation. And yes, it is queen into h4. Let's play the best moves. Okay, so now queen h5, checking the king again. And it almost looks as if you could just keep checking this king forever without ever really satisfying a mate. And I believe that's probably just the best way. You just check forever, right? You could just keep repeating this on and on forever. Never checking with the rook, obviously, just always checking with the queen here. And yeah, the king is not encouraged to now go to e4 because there's actually a mating net after that. So if we put the king back again, and queen h1. Yeah, so that was the best endgame, was just perpetual check for white, especially being at +7. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. This was amazing. So my opponent did concede the game with allowing me queen g2 mate. However, in all fairness, it could have just been an easy draw. Yes, despite being down so much material and still coming through with a draw with black pieces. Thank you guys all for watching. Have a wonderful holiday season. Many more videos to come for the FIDE playlist in the future. And take care, everyone, and bye-bye for now.